teacups, what's brewing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Have any of you got New Year's plans? I do realise we're in that kind of no man's land in the middle of Christmas and New Year where no one really knows what day it is. It is the 28th here. I have just realised my cleaner's coming tomorrow. I was like, oh no, that's Thursday. She comes on a Friday. I should probably check. So my days have been a bit off as well, even though I haven't been doing much. Today we are going to talk about Chantal's Hiiii live. Hiiii as in hello, not high as in gummies. And she did also have a community post out, which we will look at after this. So let's get straight into this. I am just going to be recapping and not reacting. Lives are easier to recap, to be honest. And I was having trouble downloading it because I'd heard quite late last night, I'd heard that she was ranting a little bit and I just didn't want to get into it. But usually if she starts ranting, she won't leave it up and I couldn't download it just in case. But thankfully it's still there. So we start sitting in the car and it might be the fact that I know what's coming, but just looking at her, I think you can tell her mood is a little bit off. Filters are on, but they're not living their best lives. She looks a little bit rough. She's got that kind of mottled look where the filters can't quite keep up with the smoothing. She does acknowledge her mood. She said she's in a weird mood because her back hurts so bad. I'm not sure what she's done to it since the last time, but it might just be she's in a constant state of pain and this is a little bit worse. She has been sitting in the car a lot more recently and she does seem a little bit squeezed in there, so it might just be a bad position for her. She repeats it a few times and she says she's in a weird, quiet mood where she could just stare at the wall, but she's also restless and has a lot on her mind. She defends being part of Christmas. I know I said it was weird that she said mashallah when she was talking about a church last react, but I have had people here very kindly give me a Christmas card. So, you know, it's absolutely fine for her to be respecting other religions. It's just when she went to Thailand, a few people in the comments reminded me when she went to Thailand, she wouldn't even read to us the story behind different statues and monuments because it wasn't her religion. So it seems an odd mix. But she is from Canada. She says she's not celebrating, she's just partaking. She's not showing anybody, and this is one of the things that's actually really annoying her. She's not showing anybody because people have ruined it for everyone and she can't share it with anyone anymore. That's assuming her family would even let her, you know? But I think it's all connected because obviously her family bore the brunt of it when she was having trouble earlier this year. She sounds annoyed, but she also says that she doesn't want to share it. And she says in her family, she isn't super religious, or they aren't super religious, I should say. And it's really just about being together and exchanging gifts. She suddenly starts singing terribly for no real reason and then laughs. People or somebody in the chat asks if there is a mosque in Canada. And she says yes, and she laughs. She says there's a mosque in every province. I'm betting she has not visited one since she's been there. And she wasn't even going to the mosque in Kuwait, and it's a much bigger deal there and a much more accessible there. So it doesn't surprise me she's not going in Canada. She tells Brooke in the chat, whose comment I couldn't see, so I'm guessing it got blocked at some point, that she's living kind of restricted and repeats that people ruined it. Salah says that, I'm presuming Brooke here, is just trolling, and Chantal knows, but we get to what's really, or at least partly, bothering her, which seems to be that people find her boring, which is why she's blaming everybody on why she's boring now. She says she'll adapt to that somehow, and she means it as being quite defiant, but she's always said she'll adapt, and now she's like, somehow. She doesn't really have an idea. And she reminds us what kind of life is it to chase clicks and views. And while I agree with that sentiment, I believe it's Smokey Steve that has a list of like her recent clickbaiting titles. I think in his coffee break this week, he referred to it. And she's done a few of those recently, so clearly it matters to her a little. And especially when you consider how she's been pushing Cameo, which we are going to get to at the end, we can see she still needs money. Now, I'm not looking at her sideways for that. I'm not knocking it because, you know, money is good. Practically speaking, she needs to support her lifestyle, and she does have her job on YouTube. And if we're going to get into it, I get paid for these reactions. I like money, you know? I find the trip back to Canada and the diabetes arc to be quite interesting, but also it's been better paid the last month or two, so I've been working harder to try and fit them in. Because everyone's got goals financially, and Chantal can be as defiant as she wants, but of anyone, she's got the most need of it because she's the most reliant on just this one place. She doesn't have the ability, although she's told many times, and I've told her myself, get offline if you don't like it. She doesn't have the ability to just give it up because she doesn't have a plan B. She doesn't have another option she could step into for income. Could Salah support them a little bit if they were to reduce their outgoings? Maybe. I mean, he supported himself for years. We don't know where his money's coming from. But she's not now and has never been in a really secure position financially. So when you see this irritation at being called boring, and she's always been very thin-skinned about people's opinions anyway, it does actually hit her when that happens. It hasn't caused her to change up her content, but she's getting more dissatisfied as she sees the gap between, say, what reactors get for their views and what she gets for her views, because she's always considered reactions as theft. Now, spoiler alert, at the end of this video, there was a community post saying that she's taking a break. Now, there's speculation that despite what she says in this live, she may be going back to Kuwait sooner rather than later, and that's why she's taken the break. But even in that, she still pushes her cameo. Her cameo takes her seconds to record. Like, it doesn't take her a lot of time or effort to answer a cameo. And she gets, what, $25 for a cameo? $20 with the cut? I don't know what the cut is. So as much as her videos are pretty low effort, that's even more low effort for her. But she'll be back soon. She can't afford not to be. And I think that sometimes frustrates her because she'd love to just give us the finger and leave. Connected to this, I also imagine whatever conversation her family had when they gave her permission to come and stay was probably quite serious, because otherwise she would have accidentally shown something by now. The way she's been talking, the way she's been driving, we all believe that she's at her mom's, but she hasn't confirmed it. And I think aside from a picture of like a plate of food, she hasn't shown the inside of the house. But there is a general sense of frustration, which I think is triggering her anger with everything, which is in keeping with her past behavior, where she can't move on with her goals in Canada. It'd be too hard and she doesn't have the staying power to go for years in Canada. And she can't deal with any of her issues in Kuwait because she doesn't have the ability to. It's this rock and a hard place where she can see the problems, but she won't do enough to change it. And so that's just leaving her kind of frustrated and striking out the way she is now. So she talks about the initial plan she had, which was a small town apartment and to take care of her health, or she had the option of, and this seems like now she's been home and it's not as shiny as she was hoping it would be. This is the one she's now convinced herself is right, but just really doing it and getting healthy with her husband in Kuwait, which is what Salah wants because they also want to travel. She says, if I get an apartment here, like a little studio or something, and I hole myself up, I will eat myself to death. And I understand where she's coming from there because I think that's in keeping with her history. But she's doing that in Kuwait already. She goes out a lot less in Kuwait than she does in Canada. Now, people say that get healthy and travel is a repeat, that we're just hearing it again. And she says it turns out making drastic changes in your life is harder than it looks. And she kind of blames her audience for their expectation that she might follow through on what she says. Now, don't get me wrong, fool me twice, shame on me, but also, maybe don't torture your audience like that, hey? I know she's got a members only chat on at the moment, so most of the people there will be older beezers, but still. She says that taking a step and committing to something is terrifying. Now, having taken the step of weight loss surgery myself, I remember how scary it was. And in a weird way, because for me at least, I was like, well, if I do this and I take the risks and I go through and it fails or something happens and, I'm just as badly off as I was, I feel like I then don't have a more serious solution, because this is the serious solution. Surgery is the serious solution. And so I was kind of scared to move forward because that kind of took the ace out of my pocket if it didn't work. Weight loss surgery is always like the last resort thing. So what's my safety net after that? And I think she's having a little bit of that, a bit of, okay, well, what happens if I don't survive the surgery? What happens if I don't get the surgery and I try really hard? What will I do with all those feelings? But also, what happens if I do? What happens if I do and it works and I don't have food anymore? She can't deal with that either. But I do find it funny coming from a woman who committed to a lifetime with a man, having known him for 3 weeks, and flew halfway across the world to convert to his religion to loophole marry him. It just doesn't fit well when you say commitment is terrifying and on the other hand you're doing that. I suppose the difference is something she cares about, like being fat, and something she doesn't really care about, like the loophole marriage arc. She uses the excuse that she was watching Your Mama, and she rages a little bit about the theories in the reactosphere that she's hearing on the grapevine. Definitely not because she watches reactors. She gets quite annoyed saying that people are waiting for the day that she will rip her hijab off, and it's never going to happen. And it may not. I think there are a couple of advantages for her in wearing the hijab that are unconnected to religion or belief. Number one, it's a really easy way for her to cover her hair, which she's historically always struggled with. And two, and this is equally important here, it just gives her another way and another phobia to claim when people decide they don't like her. Well, you don't like me because you're Islamophobic. Now, to an outside observer, and that's all I am, since her reversion, do apologize, there doesn't seem to have been any deeper change, and she doesn't seem to behave in the way I have seen people behave here. But I am not in her head, I am not in her heart, and ultimately, it doesn't matter to me what her spiritual beliefs are or are not. Now, if she does hold those beliefs, it kind of makes her actions worse, because then it's actively going against the ideal of what she should behave like and the beliefs that power that. But she's the one who has to answer for it, not me. And then, because of course she does, she gets mad about the cats again. She doesn't abandon her pets, Vicky. Vicky's comments are also gone. I'm assuming she got blocked. She said that BBJ was cat theft and goes through the cat situation again angrily. Claims she's got new trauma now because she saw a picture of the cats that her mum was going to give her that she now can't accept because it hurts. She goes through this. It's the same defenses, same criticisms of FFG, and she calls the commenter, "You idiot." She also says that people, I'm assuming she means reactors here, but she's talking to everybody, are stupid. Her and Salah haven't said they're going to break up. And I'm sorry, but when you moved across the world claiming you were going to be there for multiple years, and we look at the visa requirements and Salah coming to Canada, and you guys don't seem to be doing that, then excuse us for thinking it might have some kind of impact on your loophole marriage. I can't think of a relationship that wouldn't be somewhat impacted by a change like that, even if it was successful long term. Rages a bit more on the stupidity of people, says she's not looking for an apartment, she's going back home to Kuwait. So that'll show us. Minor point, she can't say what her lip gloss is because it's on the ban list. Apparently it's an old one. She's not going to buy it again, but she's just using it now. She said she doesn't like stupid people. It's like talking to cement. Well, no wonder she has trouble reflecting on herself. She says that she'll pursue health in Kuwait because no matter what happens, it's mostly up to her. Someone asked what would happen if she died in Kuwait, and she says she hasn't thought about it. Well, she's thought about it a little and she doesn't know. She thinks she would probably be buried there. And I don't know about that. I have no idea. But with her being a Canadian citizen, I feel like her body might get repatriated. I have no idea. She said she's bitchy because she hates that she has to share her internet platform with these people. I'm assuming by these people she means the various reactors she's been kicking off about. She makes fun of people who make retro reacts with old content when she doesn't upload. Doesn't seem to realize that it means that many people make money when she doesn't, which maybe she does realize, maybe that's why she's so angry, but there's a reason people do it. She tells Gorlick to not even try replying to Salah's reacting masterpiece. I might be paraphrasing there. Because she can say stuff, and don't for a second think she's not the one writing those scripts. She can say stuff, but God help you. God and Allah help you if you reply. Only she gets to respond. She confirms that her car hasn't been detailed yet, which, gross. Knowing the state her car was in, I can't imagine a year being shut down is going to have improved it. But I'm also guessing not particularly safe, because if she hasn't had it detailed, I'm guessing, I don't think she mentioned it, I might be mistaken, that she also hasn't taken it to a mechanic to make sure it's safe. And she keeps saying it's on its last legs, it's whatever. She obviously doesn't want to put the money into putting it into better condition because she might not be staying anymore. But if I were driving it, I would want it checked. Now, with the date right now, it might be hard to get it into a mechanic, but I would not be driving in Canadian winter, even if it is quite mild, in a car I wasn't sure about. Foodie moves back to FFG, and apparently she promised not to upload for a month if Foodie showed her marriage certificate. And she tries to get out of that by saying, no, I'll do it when you prove you have a boyfriend or something. And no. Try and get out of that one, darling. You got called out. She hilariously makes fun of the way FFG says her S's, which is just pure projection, because she's been talked to many times about how she holds her S on the end of yes when she speaks. And she says, it's just like the visa run. She's not lying. She's just not telling us. And oh, well, I guess that's a lie if that's what you think lying is. She has been actively caught out in more than enough lies when it comes to her visa, as well as a lot of switching, changing in the stories. She makes fun of people saying she's not married when she's shown all the video and photo proof of their loophole marriage, which is actually just proving that she couldn't have been married on the timeline she was saying, because of when she posted those things and how it connects to her future content, or the content that came after, I should say, and she just continues to rant. She says her chat doesn't like drama, even though in this very moment her chat is asking her if she's married and telling her to drag them when it comes to reactors. She says it's raining, so she can't go out for a walk, oh darn. Obviously doesn't want to be out there at all, but despite your blood glucose readings, you aren't actually made of sugar. You can still walk in the rain, you won't melt. Somebody tells her she seems really focused on revenge, and she tells them she doesn't need a morality lesson from an internet troll, but then tries to laugh it off and walk it back. She hates being a public person. Well, you have the choice not to be. I don't know what to tell you. She doesn't know what the healthcare options are in Kuwait, just that there are more options, apparently. And then we get into the other thing that's really bothering her, which is she says she's not going to have the surgery. She doesn't have a family doctor. She's totally discouraged. She's going to have to lose 75 or 50 pounds beforehand anyway. So she may as well keep going herself if she's succeeding at that point. And so she's making the argument that, you know, if I can lose 50, I can lose all of it, which I don't think is necessarily true, right? I don't think she'd be able to lose 50. The last time she was able to lose a large amount of weight was a combination of Ozempic and cocaine. So without making some choices, she's not going to lose the weight herself, which is really what it is. She doesn't want to have to lose the weight first. And I get the argument of, well, if I could lose a big chunk of weight, I would have done it myself already. But note that she doesn't know how much she'd have to lose. There's a general piece of information that you find around when you're looking into weight loss surgery, where some doctors, for various reasons, will ask you to lose a percentage of your body weight first. Sometimes 10%, sometimes 15%. It can vary. Those aren't the only options. So she is guessing at this point. She hasn't spoken to a doctor. She hasn't been referred. She hasn't been any part of the process. She's taking her tenuous understanding of information that she's found online and deciding that it's not worth it. I can't believe she didn't Google slightly before she got on the plane to Canada, but as she admits, this wasn't the only reason for her coming back. But generally, some doctors want to see you stick to a plan before they do the surgery on you to make sure you can stick to a plan after. And one of the ways to measure that you're actually implementing those behavioral changes is seeing the weight that you lose. And the thing is, if she does decide to pursue anything in Kuwait, be it surgery or any kind of weight loss, which if she doesn't want to die, she kind of has to, she's going to have to do this regardless. And this is kind of the argument people make when, let's use 40 as a boundary, because I'm 40. It's like, oh, when I'm 40, if I haven't done this, I'll do this. And the argument is, well, you're going to be 40 anyway. May as well go and do this and have it done by the time you get there. Ultimately, what she's going to have to do, which is find a way to consistently implement a behavioral change for better health, is going to have to happen regardless of how she does it. And she does not seem ready for that. She says that she is dependent on Salah and couldn't be alone, despite the fact that a mere couple of weeks ago she was willing to leave him for multiple years for this, and says that Salah will come to Canada one day. She does justify, quite rightly actually, that there's a lot of financial benefit to living in Kuwait, and it's better for her to recover from her financial history in Kuwait than in Canada. Now, that is actually true. Don't get me wrong. She still owes her taxes, but the only easily available vices that she can take on are food and shisha. And she has to go through Salah to get food. So even when she orders multiple times, she just doesn't eat the way she did when it was entirely within her control. And when he's sleeping and she wants to eat through the night, she only really has the options of what's in the house. It's also probably cheaper for her to rent in Kuwait, and with Salah there, much easier for her to access an apartment, because if it's all in his name, she doesn't need to worry about her credit. Now, the slight bump here is that Salah has said many times that he's hoped to go to Canada, but we seem to be ignoring that at the moment. And someone does ask, why not just bring Salah to Canada? And she says, no, not now. We just said we don't want to. And Salah is being a good little boy and chimes in the chat to say he would want to stay in Kuwait at the moment. Now, bear in mind, if she does bring him to Canada, which she is not capable of doing at this moment, he is also giving something up when he leaves Kuwait, because he's got residency in Kuwait, and we don't know all the circumstances of that. So we don't know how easy it is for him to re-get it if whatever's in Canada doesn't work out. So there is a risk there for him as well. She says she enjoys the freedoms in Canada, like being able to drive around, and that even if she had a license in Kuwait, it's different. She wouldn't want to drive in Kuwait. It is more dangerous. She confirms she doesn't have a license, and this connects back to a video she showed of herself driving, having not checked the fact that on a residency permit you can't get a Kuwaiti license for 2 years. And someone questioned her on that, referring back to the video, asking if she needed a license for that little drive she did. And she says, yeah, but it depends on your status in Kuwait. And yes, it does, because Foodie had not done the research first, but basically, as a tourist, you can use an international license, so it would have been legal for her as a tourist to be in the car with her international license. But as the resident she was claiming to be, it would have been illegal for her because she would have had to have a Kuwaiti license, which she couldn't get for 2 years after having her residency converted. Now, she says now it wouldn't be possible, but then it was, implying that since June 25th, which is the date of the video that she posted of her driving, because I went back and checked, that there had been some kind of status change that would have now disallowed her to drive. So that means she would have been a tourist on June 25th, and essentially now she's not. Spousal and dependent visas are still closed to her. I don't believe it. I don't think she could have made a change in that time. And I'm sure if we go back, that timeline of her being a tourist in June would also not match up to any of the other things she has said about her status. She does say she's not finished in Canada, which does rather disagree with the break she said she's taking in the community tab, and that she has things to do. I think I heard somewhere that Pete had confirmed he hadn't spoken to her this trip, so that's interesting. She says she was thinking of all the food she missed and she was going to have this last hurrah while she was here. It was one of the reasons for coming here, but it's not such a good idea because she ended up in the ER. She confirms something I think we all already knew, which is she no longer has contact with Rena. She has a sudden urge to go dumpster diving. She starts talking about dumpster diving cookies and out of nowhere says, I'm going to eat my sandwich, and reminds people she has a spare sandwich always, and just picks one up off the car. I was like, where did that come from? Excuse me? This is minutes after she said, yeah, last hurrah is probably a bad idea because, I ended up in the emergency room. Okay then. To make this even better, she can't say where the sandwich is from, so I'm guessing Starbucks or McDonald's, but she does also ask about Tim Hortons, because she had a gift card. She was given a gift card, and apparently it's from somewhere that does not follow her political leanings. And that is conviction, isn't it? She said she got a whole bunch of gift cards, I'm guessing because she turned up last minute for the Christmas she claims not to celebrate and people had to scramble, and said she still does a pretty good job with boycotting. Please give me examples, because if you're eating from the places you're claiming not to eat from and you're wearing the products you're claiming not to support, I'm not sure where to look here. She says when she goes back to Kuwait, she's going to make palak paneer. She said she hasn't made it yet. I thought she had. Didn't she, strain the cheese with her hijab? She was making a joke of it. She said, I had to use a clean one to be able to drain it. Her future content is going to be shaped like this. Relationship stuff, i.e. the marriage certificate, private. Health journey, public. Because clear boundaries, guys. There's a little reactor drama talk. She said she will never talk to Missy Moo again. Someone says, I wish you wouldn't go to Kuwait and take care of your health. She says it's going to take much longer than she realized, and she can't be away from her husband for that long. She did say she was coming back for surgery, but it wasn't the only reason, and she changed her mind after, because she tried to say that, when I came, it wasn't the only reason, but then she corrected herself and remembered, no, I know that I said it was, but actually I had other reasons. We're getting into just general chat response. There's some talk about some old stores and the cafes they used to have or something. The conversation keeps circling back around to surgery. She said she can't wait a year and a half to be healthy, so there's no point. If you're rightfully feeling that kind of urgency, maybe rethink the backup sandwich you're currently scoffing. I think that would be a good idea, because if it's a backup sandwich, she has already eaten. She laughs because apparently it's funny and not serious that she's going to have to go on a water fast in order to get back to Kuwait, and I assume she means to fit on the plane, and she might book 2 seats. She has already confirmed that she needs 2 seats. If she's going to fly back, she should book 2. She suggests a 24-hour in her car video, but says that, they'd still order in. The delivery person for that car, I swear to God. We won't drive somewhere, we'll just get someone to order it to my car. There's a little bit of talk about £600 Life. Apparently Dr. Now is on Cameo. He charges $150 for his cameos. She says she watches the shower scene of £600 Life and then the intro to get kind of a basic setup of them, but she skips the sad stuff because God forbid it strike a chord. I think she watches it to make herself feel better about her situation, but then when it gets a little bit too real, she can't handle it. She doesn't want anything that might connect to their feelings, There's a lot of nothing chat after this, and the live ends. So that's where we are. The live was about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes long, something like that. We had a community post afterwards. I don't know who the person in the community post is, because this is not the person that was on camera during the live, I can tell you that much. Hey guys, I'm going to be taking a break from uploading to YouTube until sometime in the new year. Again, I don't know if she's traveling home, but it would give her an opportunity. But I will still be doing cameos, of course she will. So if you want your own personal video just for you, yada, yada, yada. I found out I can make them private, so no one else will ever see your cameo unless you show someone. She's also changing things up a bit and will make the cameos a bit longer just for you guys. Thank you for the support and understanding. And she gives links to where you can get her cameos, because she doesn't want to be on camera with everyone, but she does still want to make money. And below, as I say, we have some version of her face. And that is where we are. Now, truthfully, I'm a little bit shocked she's not already back online. She's not known for following through when she said she's taking a break, so she might be back. I will not be back tomorrow. As I say, my cleaner is coming. That means I've got to get out of the house. And I probably won't be back till a little bit later. So unless she comes back with something really dramatic, I'm not going to be reacting. So I will see you at some point in the future. And if I don't see you before New Year, have a very happy one. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.